Hi, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for joining us for our October webinar for ISTE's Edtech Coaches Network. My name is Katie SAMR, and I am your host for the evening. I am part of the 2018-19 leadership team for the Edtech Coaches Network. On the screen, you'll see the rest of the committee members who serve on the leadership team with me. We really try our hardest to bring you opportunities, especially professional development opportunities, and create opportunities for you to engage with other coaches across the world, actually. So please reach out to us. Let us know what you'd like to see more of, what you'd like to see less of. If you have any ideas, if you want to or volunteer and be a part of some of these things that we do. We're always looking for volunteers for different things. So please reach out to any one of us, and we would love to hear from you. You can connect with EdTech coaches all over, so I'll share the links to these in the chat in just a minute. But the very most important place to connect with us is the ISTE's PLN homepage, and I'll go over that in just a minute because they did redesign that this past summer. So I want to make sure everybody knows how to get to the new PLN homepage, and make sure that you're an official member of EdTech Coaches if you're a member of ISTE. We also have a very active Twitter network. So our official Twitter handle is @EdTech Coaches. And then please share whatever you're learning and connect with other people with #ETCoaches. We also have a Google Plus group and a Voxer group, and then a Remind group. The Remind group will send reminders before our monthly Twitter chats, which happen on the last Tuesday of every month at both 1 and 8 p.m. Eastern. It's the same chat. We just do it at 2 different times to accommodate all of the different time zones that our coaches participate in. So, like I promised, ISTE redesigned the community area, or the ISTE Connects area, where all the PLN homepages are this past summer. And so to get to them, you can go to community.iste.org. Joining a PLN is free with your ISTE membership. So there's 20-some PLNs that you can join as a part of your ISTE membership. For most members, joining the PLNs is really what makes ISTE a valuable community and professional network to them. So once you go here, you'll just click Join a PLN, and then you'll make sure that the EdTech Coaches Network is selected. Once it's selected, then you can get to our homepage here, where we have a very vibrant discussion board and community who's constantly contributing, asking for ideas in the discussion board, sharing ideas in the discussion board. So our community is a very active place in ISTE Connects. The library tab is also where you can find the archive to this and all of our Playground Series webinars. So you can find all that information and more in the ISTE Connects homepage. So definitely make sure, if you're a member of ISTE, that you have the EdTech Coaches Network selected. You'll also receive our monthly newsletter to make sure that you're aware of all of the EdTech Coaches happenings going on throughout the year beyond just ISTE's conference. So speaking of some of the things that we do all year long, like I already mentioned, our Twitter chats, which are every month on the last Tuesday at 1 and 8 p.m. Eastern. We use #ETCoaches to connect and share and network with each other. We also do a book study every year. I believe our book study registration is going to open in November. I'll double check on that while our presenters are presenting and share any links in the chat area. But that typically starts in about January to February. And if you are an official member of ISTE and EdTech Coaches, you actually get a free e-copy of the book to join us. So we do a Twitter slow chat, meaning that we post 1 question per day throughout the book study. So you can respond at any time of the day. You don't have to be sitting down for a live hour chat, but you can participate at any time throughout the day as part of the book study discussions and questions. This webinar tonight is part of our Playground webinar series. So we know not everyone can make the big national conference in June every year. So we take some of our best, most popular Playground presentations, and we ask those presenters if they'd present essentially that same topic as a webinar topic throughout the year. So we can bring the conference to you throughout the year. So that's what tonight is. Just a couple of other things. We do blogging buddies. So if you're an EdTech coach and you have a blog related to coaching, you can sign up for blogging buddies, and we will pair you with about 4 other coaches from around the world. And you just agree to, or you commit to blogging once per month, and then reading your 4 other blogging buddies' blogs and commenting at least once per month on each of their blogs. So just a different way to connect you with other EdTech coaches around the world. We also offer a local conference meetup kit. So the national meeting that we do at ISTE's conference every year, we put together the slides and a conference proposal outline for you, so you can apply to your local conferences to take the meetup kit, so we can reach EdTech coaches in smaller pockets across the world. And then lastly, whenever ISTE is refreshing the standards, we always host a refresh event to collect coaches' feedback to submit that back to ISTE, which goes into the larger organization, the feedback does that we give them, and ultimately goes into the finalized versions of the standards that are published when they are refreshed. So, without further ado, I would like to introduce our amazing presenters tonight, who are presenting on connecting with tech-resistant teachers. So we have Katherine Goyette, who is an educational consultant for technology and integrated studies at Tulare County Office of Education, where she works to develop professional capacity of administrators, coaches, and teachers. She is a Google certified trainer and innovator who is passionate about sparking innovation through collaborative connections. Katherine was lead writer for the California Department of Education Computer Science Standards. Connect with Katherine on Twitter at @Kat_Goyette, or visit her blog www.wonderexplorelearn.com. And I'll be sure to share these links in the chat if they have not done so already. And then our second presenter with us tonight is Adam Juarez. He is a 6 through 12 technology integration coach for Cutler-Orossi Joint Unified School District. He leads teachers in implementing tech into their lessons through one-on-one coaching, demo lessons, and professional development. In addition, he is a Google certified trainer and innovator, 2017 Q Leroy Finkel Fellowship finalist, and co-founder of the Twitter chat #CVTechTalk. He frequently presents at ISTE, Q, EdTech Team, and Cruze Center for Innovation, KCI events. So I would love to turn it over to these 2 amazing presenters who are actually ISTE EdTech Coaches Playground webinar veterans. They presented for us last year as well. So guys, take it away, please.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Katie. We are excited to be here. And I'm Katherine. And
I'm Adam.
That's right. So thank you for that introduction. And we also are we want to let you know that we will be following the chat on the YouTube live link, those of you that are watching. So if you have questions in the midst of the presentation, please feel free to ask via the chat there, and we will be sure to answer that. Who do we have with us tonight, Adam?
We have a lot of people on right now.
All right.
Kia Douglas, Charity Dodd, Twyla Burwalt, Jennifer Lichter, Meredith Jones, Lisa Ben-Haim, Jocelyn Curvin, Dessa Scher, Judy Winsberg, Robbie Barber, Aaron Lopez, Amanda Fogelman, Kelsey Pacer, Lacey Smith, Mandy Bush, Renee Sudol, Shandon Nation, Francis Ada, Donna Price, Kathy Booth, David Dutro, Jorge Azucar.
And perhaps more that have not joined in on the chat.
Again, if you're on the chat, make sure you drop your Twitter handle in there so we can follow you, follow us back, and we can continue these conversations.
Absolutely. All right. Well, we're going to go ahead and share our screen here so that you can see. We can go ahead and begin this presentation. All right. So we like to think of tech coaching as, as a tech coach, we wear a lot of hats.
That's right.
That was actually one of the, that was the theme of the EdTech Coaches Playground not this past year, but the year before at ISTE.
Yeah, 2017, San Antonio.
And so we really kind of took that and ran with it because we feel that it's a great way to think about all the roles that we have as EdTech coaches. So as we go through this presentation, you will see these hats on particular slides, and we'll let you know why they're there.
That's right.
All right, well, let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about is when we're talking about resistant teachers, and if you see that bit.ly there, you can go ahead and access the presentation later on if you would like. But when we're talking about resistant teachers, they are not intrinsically motivated. And we can try to have our administrators or leaders ask teachers to do things out of compliance. But if that's the case, it's going to stop there. Teachers are not going to want to go to the next level. They're not going to want to learn on their own. And so we really want to foster intrinsic motivation. And so those of you that have read Daniel Pink's book and know his work, if you haven't, there's a TED Talk you can check out. It's short. I think it's like 3 minutes long, so it doesn't take a long time. And he talks about 3 things that motivate people based to be intrinsically motivated. One is autonomy, one is mastery, and one is purpose. And all of those 3 things must be there in order for someone to be intrinsically motivated. So as we are coaching, as we're working with teachers, planning professional learning opportunities and working with them one-on-one, we try to think of making sure that they have all of those 3 things.
And if they don't have those 3 things, you can see the poop emoji there. It just kind of makes them feel like poop.
That's right.
If you want to get those resistors to not feel that way, and those are 3 things you definitely want to try to focus on and help them build in order to get them to feel much better about themselves.
Absolutely. We'll talk more in depth about this, but autonomy, essentially making sure that teachers feel that they're treated as professionals. Mastery, they have to actually feel that they have the skills to do this. A lot of our most tech-resistant teachers feel like poop, like the poop emoji, because they don't feel that they have the skills to implement technology in their classroom. And then finally, purpose. And that's not our purpose, by the way,
that's right.
Adam. That's their purpose. Exactly. What are they passionate about? And trying to aligning technology to that.
Exactly.
So sometimes our resistant teachers, if you look at this GIF here, they feel that technology does this in the classroom.
They think it's just a distraction, and it's understandable why they would think that. I mean, if you a lot of these resistant teachers think that kids are just using these things as a toy, so we shouldn't have any toys in the classroom, and because all they are going to do is distract. But in 21st century, the way these kids are wired, these kids do not know the world without the internet. They have no idea, and we have like an obligation to teach these kids to use technology as a tool and not just a toy that's there for their entertainment.
Absolutely. You'll see there the hat, the I Love Haters hat.
That's right.
And so I know that Adam and I have worked with teachers and maybe still do, that they might not hate us, but they hate what we stand for because they believe that technology is this. And so we want to, we're starting this presentation just kind of talking about what are some of those fears that teachers are facing.
I mean, we see, if you can go back real quick,
sure.
If you look at the method the teacher is using to teach, and look at the kids with what they bring to the table. They bring this unique set of skills that no other generation has ever had. And the problem here is not the tech, it's the pedagogy.
Yeah, absolutely. Teachers at the front of the room. There's a big disconnect between a chalkboard and students all having devices. So she's not really living in their world and getting to know those students. So we're not going to play the video, but if you watch this video, this is another problem that I hear from teachers that don't want to integrate technologies. They say the Wi-Fi keeps going out. The Wi-Fi is just not working. Why even try? Because sometimes it's too frustrating. Well, this video is an interview with President Obama, and he talks about how what he would want to change, if anything, for the next president is better Wi-Fi in the White House.
Well, yes, and And he talks about how there's dead spots in a place just like the White House. I mean, that's true of any house. The White House has dead spots, but in this video, President Obama does not talk about it. Oh, it goes out once in a while, so we're just going to shut it down.
Right.
That means it can't be relied on. We're just going to go back to paper and pencil and analog, and we're not going to use technology at all. I mean, could you imagine the chaos if the president completely went off tech?
So I like to tell teachers, I'm pretty sure that the president of the United States did not say, let's just forget it. No more tech. Exactly.
Yes,
just
exactly.
like Adam's saying.
Exactly.
Absolutely. All right. So with those haters, so to speak, we want our haters. First of all, we love the haters.
Yes.
Okay. It's all about building relationships.
When they hate us, we're just going to love them more.
That's right. We're just going to love those haters, right? We are going to ask them to put on their adventure hat.
That's right.
Why you see that hat there.
You see the coonskin cap.
And it's scary. It is scary for the haters to put on that adventure hat and try to integrate technology. But we keep loving those haters. And so I want to talk about a story. This is a screenshot from a text message I got from one of the teachers that hated what I stood for. She was a great teacher doing amazing things in the classroom, but when it came to technology, she hated it. She told me that literally when she was in the computer lab, that she got a headache. She literally said, I get a headache. I don't want to do it. I understand that, you know, that you want me to do, I just don't want to do it. So what I did was I built a relationship with this teacher, and I really tried to figure out what is she doing in her classroom that I can build on. Now, because her mastery of technology was not high yet, I essentially took the lessons that she was doing, which were pedagogically sound, and I digitized a lot of the portions of the lesson. And so I brought it to her and I modeled it and was in the computer lab with her, because the last thing that someone that is scared to implement technology wants is to be left alone with all the kids when they don't know what to do.
Right.
So that's how I kind of began to build her skills and to build her confidence, was to be there in the classroom coaching her, and not instead of a one and done, here you should all do Google Classroom, here you should all use this particular tech tool. Instead, we customized it based on the way that she already taught. So now I'm attaching to her purpose, to the way that she likes to teach. Well, what happened one day, I was the disciplinarian on campus, so I got called out of the computer lab to help with a situation. And I got this text because this teacher said, Katherine, I was so worried. A student asked a question, I didn't know what to do. Asked a question, I didn't know what to do with the technology. And so what I did was, there was a tech team on campus, and I said, raise your hand if you're on the tech team. And some kids raised their hand, and she kind of said, go help. And she had them all go help their peers. And she, this former tech hater, was so excited that the kids were teaching each other and that she didn't have to know everything, that she sent me this text. And I have to tell you, Adam, I actually saw this teacher at Walmart, of all places, here in Sanger. And I saw her about a week ago. I don't work at that school anymore. And I asked her how things were going. She has now become a leader. She is teaching other teachers the power of tech and how great that is. And when someone who was vocal against technology in staff meetings is now turning into a leader, that can change an entire culture of a school.
Just think how empowering it must have been for those kids to say, hey, I'm going to help the teacher. There's another good story about that with our good buddy, John Carippo, talks about teaching the class Final Cut Pro.
That's right.
And there was a brand new update to it that he had no idea about it, and he's supposed to teach the class on it. So what does John do? He tells the kids to find the best YouTube video out there, tutorial, and that's what we're going to use.
Absolutely.
And that class, he said, was one of the most enjoyable classes he ever taught, because he leveraged what the kids can do, and it wasn't afraid of what they might not be able to do.
Absolutely. So here's actually a picture of John Carippo here.
Him.
And he likes to say you have 30 people in the classroom who can provide you with tech support.
That's right.
And of course, that is your students.
That's right. So you always are going to hear this from resistors, but I'm not good at technology. And again, we always fire back with that John Carippo quote. You have 30 people for tech support in your class at all times. And again, it goes back to really empowering those kids. And when it comes to teaching, relationships are just so vital. Because I like to say that we teach children, not content. Especially where I work, which is a very impoverished area. In impoverished areas, where impoverished students tend to really value the relationship with you more than just your content knowledge. If you don't get that relationship with them, they could care less about your content knowledge. And if you can use technology as a great way to build that relationship and empower them and say, hey, show me what you know, help me out with this. And you're going to build that relationship on that foundation of kid knowing that, hey, you're humble enough to come to a kid and say, hey, I need some help here. So if we can train our teachers to leverage that, we've hit a home run.
I have an interesting story from today, actually. I went into a classroom. It was a high school classroom, and the teacher wanted me to show these students how to insert images into Google Slides. It was in high school.
Okay.
Now they're some of them are newcomers, so they're new to the country, and so they're just learning English. But there's a mix, and there's enough. There's other students that have been there for a little longer, and so the Promethean board was being very slow, the Wi-Fi, so I couldn't really project and show these kids what to do. But I thought, they know what to do. This is not that hard. So I asked the students, hey, who knows how to insert images into Google Slides? And like probably about, maybe 8 hands go up, telling me all these different ways. And the look on the teacher's face, he had no idea that the kids knew how to do this. And so sometimes these tech-resistant teachers just simply haven't asked the kids if they already know this.
You know what? I have a similar experience just from this last week. One of the most resistant teachers that I've worked with and tried to support the last couple of years. I just did. Usually he's like doesn't want me in his room, but I went in anyways, and I found something that I thought he could find a value, and he ran with it. The reason why he ran with it now instead of not before, because the teacher next door was running with it and loving it and getting great results from the students. And so he was curious. So I leveraged that part. And then he wasn't sure what to do. He's like, you know what, kids, we're just going to go back to the book. You know what, here, I can't do this. And the kid said, you can do that with that program with Google Classroom. You can? I don't know how. We can show you. And if you forget, just go tell Mr. Juarez, he'll show you. The next 3 days in a row, he was in his prep working with me and mastering it. So again, you want the quickest way to resistant teacher's heart is through the students. Because really, how can, as a teacher, you say no to the kids? They can say no to you and me as coaches.
Yes.
But it's really, really hard to say no to kids. So like I say, eliminate the excuses, don't buy them. Here's why we are so inspired by our good friend, John Carippo. John Carippo is he's the leader of Q out here in California, stands for Computer Using Educators. Great organization to be a part of.
It's an affiliate of ISTE.
Yep, it's
our local affiliate.
That's right. And the cool thing is that John played Division I college football at 5'7", 170 pounds. So you think, okay, he must have been the kicker. How about defensive line? If John Carippo can play college football at that size, when most defensive linemen are 6'5", 300 pounds, if he can play that position at that level, at that size, then really nobody has any excuse. Because that is just as difficult, if not more difficult, than implementing some technology in your class.
Absolutely. So a lot of times we ask resistant teachers to put on their adventure hat, and this goes along with empowering students, because we don't need the teacher to even decide sometimes what technology to use. Sometimes what we can do is empower the kids to decide.
That's right.
So this is a book snap. Those of you that are not familiar with book snaps, please check out Tara Martin. She has a website about book snaps. Talk about engaging students in something that they are familiar with, Snapchat. You don't have to know Snapchat in order to ask kids to make book snaps. So this is a book snap I made from John Spencer and AJ Giuliani's book, Launch. And it says, what if creativity means you abandon prepackaged meals and empower your students to be the chefs? So what if, as a teacher, I didn't have to prepare a tech lesson, so to speak, for them? I didn't have to integrate tech on my end, but I allowed them to demonstrate their understanding using the technology they're familiar with.
That's right.
So an example of this is my son is he was a freshman in high school last year, and he's in a video editing class. And so his teacher said, for your final, you need to identify a theme from X amount of texts that we read this year, and gave a very specific academic rubric for the final. That was it. She didn't say how they could demonstrate that understanding, so he ended up making a video. I guarantee that English teacher does not know how to edit videos in Adobe Premiere.
That's right.
But it doesn't matter.
Yep. Another one I had from that same idea was I had students last year, they had to create videos for to reenact some of the events of the Pacific Theater of World War II. And I said, all right, so here's what I'm going to do. You're just going to make a video and you have to reenact it. Some kids chose to say, well, I'm going to reenact it on green screen. Others said, well, we're going to reenact it outside with props. Some kids said, hey, I'm going to use toys and Legos, and we're going to do like little playtime videos. And some of those kids actually found apps that I'd never heard of on their phones that put like special effects, like explosions and stuff. Again, if I would have given them a rigid list of things that they must, or tools to use, or limited what they could use, some of those kids may not even have done the assignment.
So we want to be tough on our academic content.
That's right.
But we want to be easy on our delivery. And when we do that, then we can empower our students to use technology that even our teachers don't have to know how to use. And so again, that's going to help with those resistant teachers. So as a tech coach, with those tech resistant teachers, Adam, talk about how you used screencasting to teach an entire department blogger simultaneously. You essentially cloned yourself.
Well, I'm not like Dr. Strange. I can't clone myself and be in 1,000 places and many all at once.
I wish we could.
I am not a master of the mystic arts, even though I would love to be. But so the way to kind of multiply a place I can be at once is through the magic of screencasting. So if you don't know what screencasting is yet, it's when you record their screen and your voice to make a video. You see, you can find video tutorials on how to do anything on YouTube or with the computer, pretty much all done by screencasting. So when a teacher has a question like, hey, Adam, I don't know how to do this, and I support over 100 teachers on 2 different school sites, I can't be everywhere at once. I can't be in their classrooms and sit down with them and show them how to do something all the time. But from remote location, I can pull out my laptop and I can record myself doing exactly what they want to learn how to do and send them a video that they can always refer to. So it's like I'm always there. So I always say, as a tech coach, when your best friends are screencasting, respond with a screencast. So what you see there in the picture is a screenshot of an actual, it was a student who took a picture and tweeted that he was learning how to blog in his ag class.
And were you there?
I wasn't there.
That's amazing.
But I had sent how to blog, how to start a blogger profile to his teacher, who then shared the video and said, hey, do what he does in that video and your blog is going to be set up. And then boom, they started blogging the rest of the year.
I love it. I love it. And so that allows teachers that are more tech resistant to feel, I think I can put on that adventure hat.
Yep.
I think I can go ahead and try something new that I don't know how to use. Excellent. Of course, if you don't feel comfortable screencasting, you can go to the greatest instruction manual of all time.
That's right. YouTube.
It's
the second most used search engine in the world after its parent company, Google.
That's absolutely right.
And the most common search query is how to ...
Absolutely.
That's right.
Love it. I wanted to point out a great idea here. Lisa says that she celebrates when students can troubleshoot.
Yep.
So yeah, allowing the students to troubleshoot.
Yep.
I'll be honest, I don't use Promethean boards much. I'm in so many different districts. I have very few that have Promethean boards. These are brand new ones. And so here I am there to support with tech, and there's kids helping me out as I'm, oh no, the button's over there. Oh, okay. So
Nice.
yeah, absolutely. Allowing the kids to troubleshoot is huge. And if you as a coach who's supposed to be all techie, allow yourself, just like you were saying, Adam, how you said the students, your students as a tech coach, right? Who's supposed to know all about all the tech, found apps you didn't know about.
That's right.
That's going to be a great model
And
for those
I celebrated
teachers.
the hell out of that too.
Oh yeah. With teachers, I hope too. So that they know and they see that model that we don't have to know everything.
So we always like to say, you know, as a tech coach, it's important to feed yourself before you feed your team. You got to know what's out there. And as Kate was talking about in the very beginning about joining all the different PLNs, so important. You know, you guys are here. You guys must be part of the PLN because you're here.
Yep.
If you are feeding yourself, and you're going to bring that back and feed your team. Now, I love this GIF here from Dallas Cowboys, and by no means am I a Dallas Cowboy fan, even though Ezekiel Elliott in the GIF there did help me win my fantasy league 2 years ago. Every time he does a good play like this, he always does that little feed me, little hand gesture there. And I think that's a great kind of metaphor for what we have to do as tech coaches. You know what? He's telling you, if the team keeps feeding him the ball, he's going to lead the team to glory. So if we keep feeding ourselves with these connections and strategies and ideas and ways to improve our practice, we'll then be able to bring that back and feed our team and lead some real meaningful change.
Absolutely. If you don't feed yourself, you may start feeling like the poop emoji. Just saying. So, you know, this, you know, we've been told on a plane
That's right.
that we need to put on our own oxygen mask before helping others.
That's right.
So we, you know, same concept here. If we are not being fed, it's very difficult for us to feed our teams. And this is really a big, I found this very, especially with technology. As a tech coach, there is no way that you can know about every single app and every single update that occurs on every single app in the world.
That's right.
It's impossible. And so what I love about being connected and feeding myself through my PLN is that even though I know that augmented reality, virtual reality, I can get a teacher started, but I'm no expert.
That's right.
But I know who to contact, who to connect people with, teachers with, if they need more help. And so the more that you grow that PLN, the more that you have access to those experts in specific fields or specific platforms or apps within educational technology.
So get connected, get on Twitter, Google+, Facebook, Voxer, you know, connect with as many people as you can. Because again, like we said, we don't have to be the experts. And I think that's one of the big paradigm shifts now in 21st century learning and teaching is that we're not the sage on the stage anymore. We're the guide on the side. And I think as tech coaches, we can really model that for teachers. You know, we really get teachers to stop being, teacher directed and get their pedagogy to be much more student centered.
Absolutely. So this is our CV Tech Talk is something that we built just 2 years ago to connect teachers in the Central Valley and really show off all the great things that are happening. And so as we're feeding ourselves, we decided we needed to create a platform for our teachers to feed each other because we can't be everywhere. And we saw a lot of amazing things happening here in our valley, and we wanted to be able to share that and allow teachers to get ideas from each other. Sometimes they don't want to hear it from us.
That's right.
They need to hear it from each other. They feel like you're out of the classroom now. I don't know if I can, you don't know what it's like anymore. Okay, so if they can hear it from another teacher,
that's right.
A lot of times it's a lot more effective.
You know, the old saying is that prophets are never welcome in their own hometown. And it's hilarious how, they don't want to hear it from me, but those teachers that I work with that have gotten themselves connected, they'll learn about the exact same thing that I told them, but they heard from a different source. Now they're excited about it, and then they come to me for support. So I don't care who they learn it from, where they get it from.
That's right.
Just I want them to learn it, and then I can support them going forward.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's just a matter of the more you hear something too. But again, like Adam says, if they're hearing it from another teacher across the world, and it gets them excited about using tech in the classroom, who cares? Doesn't need to be us that's teaching them that.
Even my own daughters, I tell them, they don't listen. They hear from each other. Oh, then they learn. So it's hilarious.
Yep. All right. So it really is, all about building that community for teachers and celebrating what they're doing. And so this is a picture of Adam's window right outside his office. And
right.
So you'll see that, there's advertisements for the CV Tech Talk chat on Twitter for those that are you know, those that want to do that. And you'll also see that he's reminding teachers about some of the things that he talked about. So hashtag DocHub, hashtag Google Classroom, Padlet, etc. Ask me how again and again. But the best part about this,
what you don't see,
is what you don't see. What is it that we can't see in this picture?
That picture a little bit bigger off to the bottom right, you'd see a little sign that I wrote there using a window chalk that says teacher coffee drive-through. So one of the things I would do, again, the fastest way to someone's heart is through their stomach, especially with caffeine, especially as a teacher. And I had this window that didn't have a screen, so it would open up right into my room. And as soon as they opened up, there was a pot of coffee waiting for them. So any little thing you can do to connect with the teachers, whether it's tech or not, go for it. I mean, that's just good coaching practice, no matter what you're coaching, whether you're a content coach or a tech coach. It all boils down to connections. That's the business that we're in.
Yeah. And what's great is as they come to get their coffee, they're reminded of the things that you've been trying to show them, right?
That's right. So
then maybe they will ask you, oh, that reminds me, oh yeah, the Google Classroom, I haven't set that up yet. Maybe you can help me, right? And so, and I would, you know, I used to do something similar during planning days.
Yeah.
So we would have grade level planning days, and I would text all the teachers, and I would text them because I wanted it to feel personal.
Yeah.
And so I would text the team, every single group text, and I would say, I'm making a Starbucks run. If you text me your order before 7:30 a.m., I will bring you Starbucks. Well, here's the thing. Maybe they didn't really want me in their planning meeting because they didn't care about integrating technology. But if I'm bringing coffee, they're not going to say no.
That's right.
So now I have an in, and I can just ask them, hey, by the way, what are you guys doing? What are you planning? Oh, that's great. Okay. So the other thing that's been helpful is being a part as a co-teacher in Google Classrooms with our teachers. Those teachers that are resistant, that are scared, right? To put on their adventure hat, they feel a lot more comfortable if you are a co-teacher in their classroom and you're able to look over their assignments, maybe see how their sharing settings were a little off and you want to help them getting that back together. The other thing is there's another adult that is watching those kids. And so it's awesome. This is actually this is a screenshot from the teacher, the assignment here from the teacher that was a hater of tech.
That's right.
And she started using technology so much, and she was so excited that she wanted me sometimes to go in and comment and praise the students for the great job that they were doing. She would tell me what's right. Oh, you know, they're doing great at collaborating. I said, okay, sounds good. I'll put that in there.
And that, from a coaching perspective, it's a great way. Again, a lot of times Google Classroom teachers are hesitant just to get started. It's not what they're used to. But you say, hey, again, like Katherine did here, she got added as a co-teacher. Have them add you as a co-teacher, and that way, the second they have a question, all they got to do is message you, and you can go right into that classroom and troubleshoot anything. It's really just a simple way to kind of clone yourself and be in many places at once.
Absolutely, just like the screencasting. All right, so let's have some war stories now. Man.
So we like to be what we say is a walking coach.
Hence the walker on the chip there.
One of our goals as coaches has been to try to be in classrooms 80% of the time. If you're in your office more than 20% of the time, you're missing out on opportunities to coach. So coaches need to be on the sidelines right there, you know, in the midst of it all.
Remember, one of the three things that fosters intrinsic motivation is purpose. And so to me, that means context.
Yeah.
And so if you as a tech coach tell me, maybe I'm a social studies teacher, and you tell me all about Google Sheets, I don't really care. But if you would have showed me my maps because you saw there's maps all over my room, then I would have been excited.
Yep.
If you're not in classrooms, you don't know that about me.
You got to be in classrooms. You got to see what they're doing, what they're trying to teach, what their learning targets and goals are. See what the standards are, essential standards. And then from there is where you can really offer your best coaching tips, because you can't do it from afar. You have to see what they're doing, and then you can tailor make, you know, technology tips to really best meet their needs at that time. So what you'll see a lot of times as a tech coach, I'm sure many of you out there watching have had this, the deer in the headlights look. You walk in and they just freeze and they stare at you like, what are you doing in my room?
Yep.
That's more likely going to happen with secondary.
Yes.
I'm teaching, supporting teachers from grade 6 to 12. I get that a lot. What are you doing in here?
Yep.
I've had teachers say, well, are you here to evaluate me? I go, well, I'm wearing a t-shirt and jeans. I probably shouldn't be evaluating you if I'm dressed this way. But no, I'm just here to see what's up. Again, you have to let them know you are not an administrator. As a tech coach, you are on, at least where I work, all tech coaches are on teacher salaries. We're on teacher contracts. We are lateral, and they have to know that. And the sooner that you make that, understand that, the sooner that you're going to be able to build that relationship, and you're going to not have that deer in the headlights look. And again, if you're a walking coach, the more times you're out there, the less and the more they begin to expect you. They become comfortable with you being in there. You're not going to see the deer in the headlights look anymore.
True. The other thing that's important about that is a lot of times they'll come in and they'll say, I'm not doing any technology right now, as if I'm only there to see technology being integrated.
Right.
And so what's nice is when I'm in a classroom and there's not technology being used, I'll always still praise something I saw on the walls, something of the culture they created with their students, whatever it may be. Because again, if they think we're there to evaluate if they're using the tech, they're going to shut down.
That's right.
Right.
So one of the hats that we end up wearing as coaches that we need to avoid wearing is the sheriff hat. Because we are, again, like I said, we are teachers. We're not the authority there. So it's a very easy trap to fall into. In my first 6 months on the job, we had an instructional rounds where the district admin came through and we're walking classrooms and taking notes and offering feedback. And our superintendent sat there and said when we were debriefing, she was angry. We spent all this money on these brand new Chromebook carts, and they weren't in the rooms. They were out in the special room where they were all housed, where teachers could check them out. And she says, she calls them cows, which is short for computers on wheels. She says, why are the cows out the pasture? Why are they in that room collecting dust? Why aren't they being used? We spent all this money on it. And the superintendent kind of gave a hiding to the principal, who had, in a knee-jerk reaction, which is understandable, said, all right, here we go. So in the next staff meeting, everyone, Adam's going to be looking and making sure that you're using these and going to report to me, who's not using them. I'm like, whoa. That's not my job. I'm not a rat. The second I start reporting teachers who aren't using the Chromebooks just for the sake of using them, that makes me a rat. I'm going to lose all credibility and trust with those teachers. I was getting stuck with that sheriff hat, and I had to cut it off right there. This was the compromise. I said, listen, I'm going to give the administrators, I'm going to give them a list. Here's the tech tools that I have trained teachers on, that I've worked with them. You need to go look for evidence. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to give you names. I'm going to give you a list. You need to go look for them, because that's your job to wear the sheriff hat, not mine. It's a very easy trap to fall into, and you really got to be wary of it.
Because you lose trust.
That's right. Again, one of my, I guess maybe my least favorite war stories was the fact that before I became a walking coach, before I learned the real value of making sure I'm in classrooms at least 80% of the time, was, again, during that first period, 6 months or so on the job. And you know what? I was excited about this job. I learned all this cool stuff, and nobody was calling me saying, hey, come in and work with me. But I got a little depressed. And I got to the point where I wonder, you know what? I'm going to go in my room, and I'm just going to sit there. I'm going to watch YouTube all day. And I did. My phone didn't ring.
And what happened?
My phone didn't ring one time.
Did anyone come and
Nobody came looking for me. No one cared if I was even there.
So that taught you to be proactive, right?
That's when I realized I need to be a walking coach.
Yeah.
It's again, having those deer in the headlights so many times in the beginning was a little intimidating. Mm-hmm. I didn't know how to deal with it. But once I got over it, you know what? I wasn't going to wait for my phone to ring anymore. Right. I had to be proactive. I had to be out there.
Sometimes we get asked, how do you do that when you have multiple sites? How do you do that? Does it work when, I know we've been asked that in this session before. And so I have to say, I work at a lot of different schools and a lot of different districts right now. And even if I've only got 5 days for the whole year at a district, I still walk classrooms. And the key is the feedback. Yep. The key is leaving a Post-it note saying something they were doing great, and with maybe one suggestion followed by another thing that you appreciated. So don't be afraid to walk classrooms, even if you have multiple school sites. So we want to show, we want to talk a little bit about frameworks and about having that sheriff hat, and how sometimes, even though there are good intentions in rolling out something like SAMR or another type of framework, sometimes it can make a teacher feel like poop.
That's right.
And so in our experience, what we've found is that while rolled out with good intentions, unintentionally, this framework can really be off-putting to those tech-resistant teachers. And so we want to talk a little bit about an alternative that we use so that it's just a lot more open-ended and really is more welcoming for teachers.
So one of our issues with SAMR here is that, I mean, it's I call it a gateway drug to EdTech. It helps you kind of really understand what tech integration can be. But one of the issues that reason why we tend to shy away from SAMR is that it is more technology and teacher centered rather than being student centered. I understand how it works, but if you look at redefinition, there can be something that you do with technology that completely you could never do ever before that still supports, really bad pedagogy.
True.
Or you could really be, busting your tail to start with tech integration and say, okay, most people's first step is to digitize worksheets. That was my first step. And you're feeling really good about yourself, and then someone says, then you are just at substitution. You need to be higher up the SAMR ladder. And I see SAMR as a ladder. And when you're climbing a ladder, you really got to watch your balance. You're always a little wary, and you have to fight gravity. So I see those as potentially negative things. And again, I'm not dumping all over SAMR here. I understand it, but we think the format we like to use, the framework we like to use, is more student and pedagogy centered rather than teacher and tech centered.
Right. And if I'm a teacher that spent hours and hours digitizing those worksheets, but really without technology, all I did was hand out worksheets, is the problem the technology, or is the problem that I really just need to work on some solid pedagogy?
Yes.
And so we want to put the focus where we feel that it should be. And so we want to make sure too that we lead with the learning and never with the tech. And so a framework that we like to use doesn't even mention tech.
That's right.
But it's a great way for us to naturally fit tech in. We like to work with the 4 C's. The other thing is it's not an additional framework for teachers. It's something they're already doing. They're already working on integrating the 4 C's into their lessons and having students communicate, collaborate, think critically, and be creative.
And we like to say it this way, like Katherine, this is her quote here. She always says, if you plan with the 4 C's in mind, the tech will take care of itself. And what happens is that tech integration happens organically when you are planning with the 4 C's. We just did a session 2 weekends ago in Vegas talking about, which focused just on the 4 C's. And we had teachers, we said, all right, pick a standard, plan a lesson with the 4 C's first. And as they were filling in the 4 square for the 4 C's, they began to see how the learning came first, and then they figured out where the tech fit in. Instead of leading with the technology, okay, what tech tool am I going to use? And they went straight to the hitting each 4 C, and then they saw how the technology could support it. When we say tech integration, the technology is there to support teaching and learning, not the other way around.
Right, absolutely.
If you look at the 4 C's there, I compared SAMR to a ladder fighting gravity. The 4 C's, it's more open-ended.
And I will say there are images of SAMR. I know some people are talking on the chat here. There are SAMR models that don't look linear, right? That don't look like a ladder. But even so, what we feel that with those resistant teachers specifically, I mean, I'll be honest, when I first saw SAMR as a teacher, as an innovative teacher that loved tech, I was excited.
Yep.
And then when I became a coach, though, I realized that it was intimidating. And so even when it's a swimming pool or, another look, we like 4Cs because it doesn't feel like one more thing, instead of technology feeling like, oh, there's another framework I have to learn.
Yeah.
With those resistant teachers, it's nice because they feel like this is what I'm doing anyway. And now we can just naturally bring in those tech integration tools. And again, if you think back to Daniel Pink's work in intrinsic motivation, this now aligns to the teacher's vision for their lesson instead of, oh, we need to integrate tech. It starts with what they want to do first.
Yeah, because SAMR, for the most, at least from where we stand, it still kind of keeps technology as something else on their plate, as something separate, as like an addendum. We have to add that in now. So the 4Cs, it's weaved in there. I think it's much more conducive to effective tech integration.
Yes, and again, if you are in a district that uses SAMR and there's teachers that are excited about it, you know, that's fine. But for those resistant teachers, we have found that this is very freeing for them, and that they end up integrating technology a lot more naturally.
Again, like I said, SAMR is it's like a gateway drug for tech integration. It opens your eyes to what tech integration can be.
Yes.
And like I said, this is like the next step above SAMR.
Absolutely, absolutely. So if you go to our bit.ly with the resistant teachers there, these are a couple of lesson plan templates that we have that are that you can take them, you can edit them if you'd like, and if that helps you, and you know, then feel free to definitely use those. I also saw a question about email. It was up a little ways there, but the question was, going into a classroom and rather than Post-its, after walkthroughs doing emails. And we both do both. We both have used forms as well as Post-its though. So I know you and I have both made Post-it notes.
Yeah, custom Post-it notes.
Custom Post-it notes.
With our Bitmoji on them.
I got my Bitmoji and my website and Twitter handle so that they have resources, but both are great. Absolutely.
Yeah, so if you're wondering what we're talking about as far as email, you can sit there on your tablet or your laptop and drop some emails. If you really want to automate this system, we like to use Google Forms, and using a Google Sheets add-on, because you know when you create a form, it generates a spreadsheet. On the Google Sheets add-on is called Formule. So if you want some of the data you collect, if you have like a drop-down menu of teacher emails, you click on the teacher's email, you leave their feedback. When you hit submit through Formule will automatically email that teacher whatever feedback that you want to leave them. So even before you even leave the room, they're ready to check their email.
Absolutely. I did this with a teacher who had not seen much technology use. And so it emails her automatically after I leave the room, and she told the former coach that it was like magic.
Yep.
It was pretty cool.
We like magic.
So we certainly do. So I'm going to go off the screen share here. There we go. There we go. All right. If there are any other additional questions, let's see. Post-it note with a candy treat. Oh, it's a great job, Donna. It is true that that food and coffee are the way to a teacher's heart. So I would definitely agree with that. Absolutely. And as far as those feedback, I see some people asking for what the forms look like for feedback. They're asking each other, which is awesome. I know on mine, I had one that was focused on the 4Cs and universal access. Like, is there access for all students? And that was pretty much it. I wrote down ways that students were collaborating, ways they were communicating, being creative, etc. What does your form look like? Mine's
is simply, I'm just what I observed, things that, you know, what I think could happen and what the next steps are.
Sure.
And it's non-judgmental, really observational, totally objective, and you know, teachers tend to have responded well to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, if there's any other questions, we're still watching the chat here. We want to thank everyone for being here, and definitely connect with the ISTE EdTech Coaches PLN.
That's right.
Got to feed yourself before you feed your team.
So,
anyway. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm just going to go ahead and kind of go over a couple of quick end housekeeping notes here. If anyone has any more questions, though, please feel free to share them in the chat, and these guys will get to those as I'm kind of going through these here. I do want to point out, I did throw the link in the chat, but I also want to make sure that everybody's aware that if you want a contact hour certificate, if you go to this link and just fill out a short feedback form and include your email address, be really careful on the spelling, because whatever you type is where it's going to send the contact hour certificate. So if you're looking for that and you need that as part of your own PD and feeding yourself, as these guys talked about tonight, fill that out. And then the last thing I want to point out, I also shared this link in the chat, but if you want to register and join us next month, November 13th, same time, 8 p.m. Eastern, we will be talking about assistive technology, and Colleen Terrell will be presenting for us. So we would love to see you joining us again next month as well. And these guys, add a cat, if you will. These guys are amazing, and we love having them present with us and work with us in both at our playground at the conference and then also in our webinar series. So jam-packed webinar here tonight, lots of stuff going on in the chat. So thank you everyone for giving up some of your precious time in the evening to join us for this EdTech Coaches webinar. And then most importantly, thank you to Adam and Katherine for joining us to present this evening and giving up your time to do that. So you guys are amazing, and you always have such wonderful things to say. So thank you all around. And then if any other questions have come in, you guys can feel free to answer them. But if not, I'll kind of wrap it up and close things down here in another minute if no additional questions come in.
And thank you, Katie. We always enjoy being here. It's always great to speak with other tech coaches. Yep. We always like to see what questions come up, and
helps us get better.
It absolutely.
A lot of thanks, and we're taking off. So
awesome. Well, I think all the questions have come in. So thanks everyone so much, and make it a wonderful rest of the week.
All right.
Thank you.
See you soon.